Welcome back to Mirror's Signal podcast. I'm your host, Josh Holleran, and today we are joined by Fiona Taylor. Fiona is a driving instructor and instructor trainer and also delivers a number of courses linked to the driver training industry. So, speed awareness courses and courses helping those get back on the road that have been involved in accidents. Fiona discusses the skills that are used on these courses with full license holders and then how we can use them to help our learners. And that will help them with confidence, nerves, and the awareness of the skills required and understanding to drive safely on the roads. We also discuss some of the games that we can play to create a more fun learning atmosphere in the car, and then around our emotions and how they can affect our students, whether that's on the lessons in complex situations or whether that's in preparation for their driving test. So I hope you enjoy this episode. Before we get into it, please make sure that you hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss any episodes as they go live. You can also give the episode a like, and you can leave any thoughts that you've got in the comments. If you're currently watching on YouTube, you can also listen to the audio version, and that's just available on the YouTube Music app. If you've got any questions or would like to drop me a message, I'm available on the Facebook page, or you can reach out on the Facebook group, and they're both available at Mirror's Signal Podcast. So for now, we'll get on with the episode. I hope you all enjoy. Fiona, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you, Josh. I'm good. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. Thank you very much for joining me tonight. I'm looking forward to the chat, but how have you been getting on?
Really good. I was online at 7:30 this morning, so I'm not tired at all.
Yeah, because people don't know what time we're filming, it's about 12 and a half hours later. So you've had a long day then.
Uh, yeah, but some days are long, some days are short. They're all good. Some people are in the car 12 hours, aren't they? Some people take long days. So at least I was online in the comfort of my own home.
I did used to have some long days in the car. I don't do it so much now because I spend half my time on Zoom, but it took its toll on me when I was in the car for that long. That was a challenge.
Yeah. Yeah, I do 12-hour days when I'm at venues delivering courses. So they're long days as well. So I don't know. I kind of like what I do. It's all
But it
good.
makes it easy when you enjoy it, doesn't it?
Yeah, don't notice the time. Don't notice the time. Absolutely.
So is that where you spend most of your time now, is delivering courses? Do you still do learner lessons or is it primarily
No, I haven't
instructors?
got time. I haven't got the commitment because I spend a lot of time in Essex, but as well as a lot of time in Leicestershire at the moment. So
Oh, okay.
I couldn't I couldn't be in one place for long enough to be able to dedicate myself to learners. I think it felt unfair. Plus, when it sort of fell away rather than a choice, if you know what I mean. I didn't choose not to do learners anymore because I do. I enjoy that. I enjoy. Well, I just enjoy people, so I do miss it. But I didn't feel like I could offer regular patterns of regular learning. So felt like the fairest thing to not bring back into my sessions. But yeah, I deliver the endorse type courses, speed awareness, awareness courses, and well, just about all of them. I don't deliver the motorbike one, but there is a good reason for that.
Okay.
I don't have a motorbike. I don't know how many of those they do at the moment, but no, all of those. But there's all sorts of different types of courses. So sometimes I'm actually out in the car with full license holders who've had a crash. So I deliver the theory part in the morning for 3 hours, and then we go out in the cars. So there's a whole bunch of us that go out in the cars. That's a whole day session, but it's quite entertaining. Full license holders that have had a crash and really benefit from a little bit of input.
How does that compare to learner lessons? We have a few topics that I'd like to discuss through the episode, But are there comparisons in teaching full license holders and learners that you found?
Absolutely. Well, it depends on how you teach your learners. I found it exactly the same. So it's the same level of respect, the same level of, well, you know you better than I know you. So let's find out how this is going to work. But I think with helping someone develop a skill, because it is just developing a skill, if you use them, you get more out of them. So, and I think when you go in for full license holders, you haven't got the same leverage. And I think people use leverage a lot with their training. Do you know what I mean? You won't pass your test if you don't use mirrors. Well, they don't have to pass a test. They don't have anything else to do. They just need to manage to meet the requirements of the session. So it's just about development and having a plan at the end of it. So I don't find it any different, but I think I would have done when I first started as a driving instructor. I would have found it a real problem. I would have been trying to make people do things. You don't make people do things. They get themselves to change things, and and it's very much that kind of approach. It's the coaching approach. It is that client-centered. They're the center of the session. And if you use your skills well, you can get anything out of anyone.
That's what I found has really helped me with my lessons. There are some lessons where I feel like I've not done an awful lot because it's just been questions and getting the information or the solution from the student. It might take a minute or two, but I've not had to give them or tell them anything. I've just asked the right questions at the right time and they figured it out themselves.
Totally agree. Totally agree. It just takes all the. Sometimes it's more tiring than telling people. So what I noticed was when I would get tired, especially in the early stages of trying to change over to a more coaching approach or a more client-centered, whichever way you want to call it, I found I'd get tired. And when I got tired, I'd just tell them because it's easy and they do it until the next session.
Yes.
So it's a quick fix, no long-term gain. And that's what I've noticed. Which is the other thing about, when you're with a full license holder, you have a fixed amount of time that if you don't sort out something within that amount of time, it doesn't get sorted. You have to pick your battles as well with full license holders.
Would that be the same as with our learners maybe prioritizing? Although we know we've got them a little bit longer, so you're just going for the biggest issue and let's see if we can fix that, and the little things make you aware of, but there's not much we're going to do in the next 3 hours, 4 hours, however long you've got them for.
Absolutely. Because there is potentially a safety critical element for the full license holder. If they've had a crash, there's a thing, isn't there? There is usually a gap in their skill set or their concentration or their observation. And there are very few skills. It's mostly about concentration, pressure, stress, and all those things. It's mostly about those kind of things. But occasionally I get a lot of, I say occasionally, I might use one phrase. I often have people who coast. They've constantly got the clutch down. Now then, I mean, we were talking a little bit before. In your opinion, where do you think the coasting comes from in somebody who's been driving for 20 or 30 years?
Interesting. I'm going to throw out some answers and I might be miles away, but depending on the individual, potentially the risk of stalling. But if they've been driving for that long, maybe fuel consumption as well. So
that comes into it very rarely.
okay.
It's still the fear of stalling, but it's no longer a fear of stalling. They've just always, but it started all those years ago. So you
Really?
plant that little, yeah. because I asked them. This is the thing. I pull over and I say, rather than say, "What are you doing? Do you know you're?" I We pull over at the side of the road, or after they've done their first little bit of drive, and I look over and I say, "How did that go?" And they say, "Well, this is good. This is good. Your car speeds up really quickly, and I like this and I don't like that." And then I say, so how did you feel about the drive? Is it the normal you? Well, I'm on my best behavior, so I'm trying to hold the steering. So we have a bit of a conversation like that. And then I say to them, if I say the word clutch to you, does it? And they go, ah. My instructor used to moan at me about that. Yes, I put the clutch down too much, don't I? So they're aware of it.
And it's lasted that long as well.
Mm. But without the behavioral control of a driving instructor or the threat of a test coming up, how many times does it go wrong for them anyway? How
Probably
many
not a
times?
lot.
Exactly. It's only when it goes wrong, isn't it? You only need your clutch up for that emergency stop as long as you can when it's gone wrong. So it's reinforced the behavior that it's okay, this is fine, I've got this, I can stop. Reinforced over 20 years until. So some people, and there are ways to get people. If we talk about the games, we can bring that one up. If we go into the games, but there's what's the point of telling somebody something they already know that they have their clutch down too often? So it's ways of getting them to see. And I do. Shall I just tell you what I do? If I
Yes,
can.
please.
It depends. It
Yes.
has to be by agreement, and it has to be the right thing for the right person. But one of the best ways to get somebody to sort that out is swap seats. I'm going to drive and I'm going to do this, this, and this, and you drive really well, and you do something else to distract them, and then you say, "Okay, would you agree this is slow enough for this right turn?" And you make it a downhill. Would you agree this is slow enough for this turn? Yeah. Okay. And then you go around with the clutch down. Oh, what's the matter? You're going too fast. Am I? Are you sure? Do you see what I mean? So you get them to experience it from the passenger seat. Or maybe just stopping, putting the clutch down first, coming to a stop, and then doing the same thing with the clutch up for as long as possible, and then stopping. And then you say, what's the difference? Once they realize it's the clutch, because then it's the experience from the other perspective. And then I do not need to do anything else. It's kind of getting the buy-in. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Because they feel it. They do not like the sensation. I ask them, do they know if anyone else does it? And they say, I think and I say, just watch what they're doing with their left foot. And I say, how did you feel? Did you feel the difference or see me putting the clutch down? And they all say, no, I felt it. So if you can feel it, does it make a difference to the car? So it's that experiential learning thing, twisting it around and making a little bit of entertainment with it. So this is how you get the buy-in with a full license holder. They have to see the benefit of something. And if you don't swap it round and offer them the benefit or what the benefits could maybe be for them, there's no buy-in. If you've got no buy-in, what happens when they get out of the car?
Back to what they was doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I do similar with the coasting when I notice it happening. I'll get them to go down a hill in gear and off all of the pedals, and then in gear, clutch down, and they're, oh, we're speeding up. I'm like, but you're not pressing the accelerator. What's going on? Um, so yeah, it's
So
similar.
you're kinder than me. That's what you're saying, Josh. You're kinder than me. You do it the nice way.
Well, there are some that I will, depending on the situation, let a turn-in play out as well, if
Yeah.
I can see it happening. Because there's, And I have conversations regularly with students. Do I need to do this for the driving test? Will they fail me for that? Will they pass me for this? And I always bring it back to them. It doesn't matter what's going to happen on the driving test. It's, was it safe? Was it dangerous? What could have happened? Because if you're safe, you'll pass. So I try and remove the driving test completely, because for a similar thought process, if they're doing something to pass a driving test, what they're going to do once they've passed.
Exactly. Yeah. And this is one of those things that I think it's so easy to fall into the trap of, is using that test as leverage. Because as soon as they've passed, if you say, but you won't pass if you don't do this or don't do that, as soon as they've gone for their test, and it happened to me, happened to everybody I speak to, as soon as there's that piece of paper that's a certificate in your hand, we're off. Steering one-handed and all the rest of it. Yeah. So and this is one of the things that I'm quite passionate about. We really need to change how we approach driver training, how we do it, because we're kind of stuck in old habits, I think. We're kind of stuck. And I don't think that's anyone's fault. I really don't. I just think our industry needs to have some innovation and a bit of a freshen up. And I think that's partly why the standards check came in. There's a massive history. There's a massive history to that. It's 30 years plus why our standards check changed, but I won't go into that now.
That could be a long episode. So do you
Absolutely.
think with the standards check, do you think we do get the freedom for things like you said there? I didn't do the old PSTs, but I do feel the standards check. I've not done one, I've only done a part 3. But the way I teach now, I feel I would do better on a standards check than I scored on my part 3, just through the getting the learning from the student and thinking outside the box with them. We're going to discuss some of the games and things like that. I'm looking forward to it. But do you think the standards check is suited to, like you said, the change that we need within the industry? Do you think that allows us to do it?
Yes, absolutely. I think since COVID, it's got to become a little bit more different, more difficult because of that, the shorter amount of time. People get really jumpy about it. People are worried about all the flagging systems and things that are going into place. But I do think there's more pressure on that standard check when people do get it. But on the whole, I think I was so glad when it came in, because it allowed people like me who had already started the change towards a more client-centered approach. It allowed me to be free with it. I didn't have to go back to analyzing somebody else, remedying what I believe the problem to be, and rectifying it with my opinion of what the problem is.
So was your change led by you opposed to led by the system then? Was you moving
Oh yeah,
towards the coaching and client-centered
yeah.
before we had to?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There's a certain course that I decided to go on, and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was the best thing. I could not understand why that was not part of our training to be driving instructors. And it was all delving into the feelings. It was certainly looking at, well, who is sitting next to you? Because if you start talking on and on and on to someone who really finds it difficult to sit still, you've lost them within 2 minutes. They've gone, they're thinking about, but it's, how much of drivers' barriers, the things that prevent them from doing what they know they should, how much of that is connected to their emotional reaction to things. How
All
much
of
of a
it.
driving test, when your learners go for their driving test, how many of them come back saying, yeah, I felt fine? So
Very
I
few.
absolutely no problem. And, oh yeah, well, I wasn't successful, but I'll just take the next one. It's not that. There's a huge amount of going on in here and in here, and we never address it. I can remember, I can remember saying to my drivers, "Don't worry about it. I've told you everything you need to know. You'll be fine. Don't be nervous." So going on this course and finding out, and then I have had moments of being painfully embarrassed, but I didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know. And it's taken me a long time to get to where I am. 2011, I took that course. I then went on to deliver it. I loved that. That was really fun. But because it was sharing the joy of how different it could be with other ADIs who could then share the joy and share it with other ADIs. And it was just, it's just massive. It's just opened up. The reason I did the course, Josh, was I had the choice. I had a little bit of money because I was getting fed up. Really. How many times have I told you to check your mirrors? I told you, we had this last week. You know what you're doing. You know what you're doing. Why don't you just do it? And it was on and on and on, same thing week after week. And I thought, well, I've got this little bit of money. I'm either going to retrain out of the industry because I'm fed up with it, or I'm going to retrain within it to develop. Like I said, it was the best thing I ever did. It's the best thing I ever did. And it's such a shame that that particular qualification isn't around anymore. There are others that are coming in to chase up. There are others. Sure, they're eager to put their little bit in the thread. Yeah, that one's not around anymore, but you can come and do our one. But if you get the chance, find a trainer and do that kind of thing. It frees you up.
That
Best
was
thing I ever did.
interesting what you said there, that you was getting fed up with the job,
Oh,
um, and fed up with telling people what to do. So you went and done this course. How did that change your outlook of the job?
it was massive. Like I said, I can remember driving home, think I was just so cross. Why didn't I have this information before? And I'd only done a day. I hadn't even had a chance to put the little bit that I had during the day into practice. But the course was over a whole year, and you had to do assignments, and it was the practice of those, and then it's your reflection on the practice and the this and the that, and then the interactions. So it was really cleverly designed. And I don't think I would have got anything out of it at all, really, if I hadn't done the assignments. But if you got 3 months of thinking about how you're going to write, however many 1,000-word essay on how you get on with this person, but there were all sorts of things in there. But it was really, the things I learned from that were things like you need to think about how someone's feeling, because that has more to do with how they're going to actually behave in any given moment, not what they know. So it was absolutely massive, and it took, it took the whole year. And then I was getting like, I'm getting the hang of this, and then you get somebody who'd throw a spanner in the works because they were a little bit more difficult, not difficult intentionally, but it was more difficult to get your head around how you could help them. But over the years, I've got better at it. I think. I hope. I feel like I have. But I would have got out. I would not have done anything. And put it this way, I feel like it developed me as a person as well. When I first went to the course, I can remember walking in to the room. It was a meeting room outside the actual classroom. And I was just walking towards these people thinking, turn around now and go. You do not have the right to be here. You don't know anything. You don't know as much as all of these other people. I thought I would just go. I didn't. I'm glad I didn't. But I didn't used to go to ADI meetings. because I didn't feel like I had the right. I wasn't as good as everyone else. So it was interesting. So it developed me as a person as well. Otherwise, I would never be standing here talking to you otherwise. But I don't know, I just like-minded people who had this other way, and I was just eager and greedy for it. So less than a year later, I was standing in Colchester at a meeting, and it was when the independent driving first came in, and it was independent driving, and it was giving students instructions with a diagram. You know, take the first road on the right, second road on the left, at the roundabout turn right, third exit. And then they had to repeat it back. It was before the sat nav, before they introduced the sat nav. Yeah, it was way before your time. But it was that, or follow the signs too. So it was a very simple thing, and the driving instructors were in uproar. And there was a meeting, and it was decided at that point that I was going to become part of the local ADI association, and they kind of plonked a badge on me as I went in. But they said, "Well, do you want to talk about this really coachy thing that you do?" And I said, "Yeah." So I stood up in front of 70 angry ADIs who said, "Well, that's never going to work, is it?" Some of them had to think about it, I think. But it was scary, but I did it. Like I said, I think because I knew, and I'm glad that everything followed on. I was over the moon when I knew that the standards check was coming in and that it was changing, because it did free me. I didn't have to worry about fitting in the criteria, and I wouldn't be able to express or let the learner express themselves in the way that they should for their learning. So yeah, sorry, you've got me on a thing now. I
It's
do.
great. It's an interesting backstory to it. And well, it brings us onto quite a good link there, letting your students express them. I think that brings us to what we was going to discuss in today's episode, kind of making the lesson fun, some games that we can do, and the effect that that can have in the car, both for us as instructors, but more importantly, the learners, and just having a better learning environment. So what are some of the things that either you've learned from that course or over the years of doing the job? What are some of the things that you think, for myself, a new ADI, and potentially people watching and listening,
I
how do
think,
we keep it fun?
yeah, trust your instincts. If it feels like it's going to work for you and it's safe, that's what I'm going to say. Before we start any of this, it has to be safe and it has to be legal. So if I say anything and I've forgotten to say the safety and the legal aspect of it, it is my enthusiasm rather than me being a complete idiot. But there are so many things that you can do, but it's about changing it around. It's a bit like feeling the difference with the clutch, because the learnings are already done. If they don't like the feeling of it and can detect there is danger in having the clutch down too early, what have you done? Do you have to do anything else? And I swear, when I'm in the car with those full license holders, 20, 30 years of driving, when they get in the car, they drive off and they say to me, "I've done it again." And they instantly notice it, because it's here and here, it's coming out. Do you see what I mean? All I've done is trigger something and they want to get better at it. You know the same yourself with something, some form of training for whatever you're doing.
Yeah, yeah. When this goes out, we might have posted about winning a fight. We might have gone all quiet for a few weeks.
What do you mean might? Come on. Might as in
Well, it
Mike Josh.
depends.
No,
We'll
no, no.
this bit's all being
Will.
clipped out, don't worry.
You can't clip it out. This bit's good. But it's that mindset thing. But you know that as well as anyone else. It's the mindset. And if you know you're going to win, then it
Yeah.
just happens.
Oh, completely. That's something that I've been aware of. We're gonna we'll go down this rabbit hole for a while. I've competed quite a lot for quite a few years, and there are times when I've turned up to a competition where I'm like, I'm not going to win this. And my coaches just looked at me. He's like, well, why have you turned up?
Yeah,
What are you here for?
exactly. Exactly. So, but this is the thing, and you're the only one who can control that. Your coach can then have a talk with you and say, how are you gonna?
Yep.
These are, you're saying that we might have cut that out, and we might have cut that. You've got to cut this bit out as well. Then the thing is, a good coach doesn't tell you to pull yourself together. The coach gets you to solve the thing yourself, and there's so much more power and weight in it. So much. Couple of examples.
Why not? Let's go.
Couple of examples. So, and this is where you need to rely on your skills. The games are skills based, as in you, the PDI or the ADI, recognize an issue in your driver. For example, driver's driving too close. Now you can have the moan and you can say, you're going too close. Can you pull back? 2-second gap, blah, blah. Yeah. How long's that going to last for?
Until the next time we close the gap about 10 minutes later.
Oh, 10 minutes. Oh, you're good. I was never that good.
I say it really loud. Move back.
Or you can say, how about a little game, a little challenge, if you like? How about you drive with a ridiculous gap between you and the one in front? I mean, a completely ridiculous gap. Do it for a while and then tell me what your thoughts are. So you just set it up like that. I haven't got any agenda. I'll just give you left, right, left, right. You drive with a ridiculous gap. And then my preference is pull over, because you can't get people to have deep conversations on the move. So pull up briefly. What did you notice? What did you notice? And then you put your listening ears on. And then you listen to what they say. What do you imagine that they might say? And this is the thing. There are loads of variations. But the sorts of things, can you imagine it?
Yeah, they have more time, feel more relaxed, less tense, they can see more. They give you all the benefits to doing the thing they should have been doing.
Brilliant. Who's told who about it?
They've told you.
Who owns it?
They own it. You're putting me on the spot now, aren't you?
Yeah.
Today, I've got to get these right, haven't
No,
I?
nothing's wrong. There are no right or wrong answers. The thing is, if I get you to think about it, then everyone else is thinking about it if
Yeah.
they're listening. If they're interested, do you see what I mean? But you have to be interested. But the thing is, if you just get someone to do these things, another example, similar sort of thing. Tell me, well, it didn't even come that way. It was just, and some games that I play with people are very much spur of the moment. I don't know why. My head just, I don't know. My head is just a little bit odd. There was somebody who was absolutely mortified. I can see her face. Can't remember her name at the moment. I can see her face. She missed a pedestrian approaching a crossing, and I needed to say, you need to stop because of the pedestrian. She was absolutely mortified. There was no anything. I just needed to tell her. But she was just, it just made her so uncomfortable. And she was saying, well, what if I missed that when I passed my test? Blah, blah, blah. And she was really animated. I said, is it okay if we deal with this during your next session? Because this happened quite close to the end of her previous session. I said, can we deal with this in the next lesson? Oh, yes, we have to. So she was probably thinking about it the whole week. Got in the car for the next session and I said, okay, I have a letter to post. This is part of the thing that we're working on, but can you just play the game? She said, yeah, whatever. And she knew me. We had a good relationship. I need to post a letter, but I don't want you to post it yet. I want to go to a different letterbox. I'll tell you which one I want to go to. But I want you to tell me all of the letterboxes that we're driving past, and then I want you to choose which one you want to go to, kind of thing. And I put the letter in the back of the car, and I said, okay, so just tell me where all the letterboxes are, because I don't want you to stop at these. So, and I said all the pillar ones as well as the small ones, the little rectangular ones. She looked at me weird and she just said, all right. And she came on. And she missed a couple. And I said, letterbox, I'm winning. So then it became a challenge. So then she was spotting them all and spotting them really far ahead. And I just let her carry on, and we were spotting letterboxes, and maybe 5-10 minutes of letterboxes. And she said to me, I've got it. I know what you're doing. I was like, okay, tell me. She said, when I missed that pedestrian last week, I wasn't looking far enough back from the road. I was looking, and she was sort of describing tunnel vision. You're making me look at the letterboxes because they're all set further back from this. I said, nice one. So do you see what I mean? You can just do something like letterboxes. I've got colleagues who've spoken about doors or red cars or anything, but it's about observation. And you can make it a challenge. Got another colleague who, if he spots more than that learner that's in the car, then he gets the chocolate bar bought by the learner. So there's all sorts of different, do you see what I mean? There are different variations on the theme, but there's a couple. Timer drive. It's a good one. It's timer drive. Now you have to work out how you can touch a device. I've actually got an egg timer, so I can just push it. A digital timer.
Yep.
In the car, because of the legal issues, you can't be touching your phone while you're in control of, being in the driver's passenger seat, even as a PDI or whatever. So, or you can agree to have it on the back seat and turn the engine off. But it's literally timer route. If you've got somebody who's a quick driver, who maybe their family members say, well, you've got to get somewhere quickly, do you see what I mean? If you have that person who believes they're going to get there quicker, this often works on the other courses with drivers who know they are speeding. Literally, so think about the legal implications, but it's time the route. So on your mark, get set, go, and they've decided how long the route is, 5-10 minutes. They drive the route, come back to exactly the same place, stop the engine, take the key out, push stop on your timer. The first time you do it, you can do it either way. The first time you do it, drive at the speed limit, not above, at the limit as quickly as is safe and legal. Second time you do it, you have to do it 5 miles an hour below the speed limit. But it's exactly the same thing. On your marks, get set, go. And then the legal thing, do exactly the same route, come back to the same place, engine off, keys out, push stop. Look at the 2 times. Very often, the slower drive is the quicker one. Because of the judgment, everything just kind of flows. You slow down earlier, you're looking further ahead, you're planning better. And the first time I ever did that was on one of the police diversionary courses. And it was, I won't say what company, but he was a delivery driver. Between 140 and 200 drops a day. He said, Fiona, I'm not going to lie, after this, I will carry on speeding. Okay, excellent. Didn't fight him, no point. I did the drive. The very first time that I'd ever done this little bit of an exercise, he saved 1 minute and 12 seconds on a 10-minute journey, doing it slower.
It's 10% faster, going slower.
Yeah. Well, you did maths. Why do you think I'm a driving instructor? Yeah, you did the maths on that. But it was incredible. So even I thought it'd be a few seconds or, not much in it, really. But that was his particular version. And we had to stop at crossings and things. It was bizarre how it was quicker. That was a whole 10-minute journey. It was 10 minutes. It's a good long journey, but he chose it. But that was amazing. And what did that mean for him?
He can get his drops done quicker and safer and
No
more
more,
effective.
no more courses.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and again, this is where you need to draw it out of people, because sometimes the thing is that when we have these moments, we see the realization, the initial thing, but we fail to dig deeper for the lasting, and then how will that benefit you long term? And he said, well, it's just so much more relaxing, isn't it? Just get the day done. I won't be going home like full of caffeine and stressed out of his head. So they're a couple. They're a couple. I've got too many. I've got too many games, but making lessons fun. One of my favorite ones. I wrote an article. I don't know if I got you to look at that one. The bank robbery starts.
Yes.
So it's on my Facebook profile. You can search it if you're bored enough to want to read a little. But it was so much fun to do it because my learner engaged in it so much, and I even bought a couple of masks. So we were both wearing
good photo in there.
Safely and legally. We took photographs, and he did it out of the window because my arms aren't long enough for a selfie. Well, my arms are really short, and then everyone looks sort of grotesque and deformed. But he was one of those drivers who it came across as he was, I don't know how to describe it. It came across as he was scared to take the opportunity, scared to take the gap at a roundabout. So that's how it came across. And I kept saying, no, do more gas. And this was in the fairly early stages of, no, it wasn't that early in my coaching. But I was trying to just sort of hint that, do more gas, and then the car will. But he was missing the opportunities because he was trying to do clutch up, no gas. And we had conversations about it and nothing seemed to work. So we were waiting a long time. And then, of course, there was the emotional reaction, but he didn't seem to want to acknowledge that. I said, it's coming across like you're a bit anxious. And I'm not. And I think it was offensive, the things I was saying. So I backed off from that immediately. And I said, look, right, can we go play a game? Next lesson. And he said, oh, that sounds like fun. Because I said, next lesson, we're going to do bank robbery starts. And he was like, you are joking. And I said, well, not a real bank.
Pick me up outside the bank.
Be prompt. No, and I agreed with him. We went to a quiet car park, and it was all agreed, and it was fine. We took the photographs, but we both had these silly masks and a handful of money. He was cracking me up because he kept making the noises while he was taking the photographs. But the scenario was, and I've done it with loads of other people. Okay, just imagine we've just done a bank robbery. We're going to have the doors open. I need you to slam the doors and then go, go, go. You've got to drive away as quickly as you can. So that was the scenario. And so we slammed the doors and I said, go, go, go. And he went, move. And we stalled. And I said, what do you reckon? And he said, we'd have been nicked. So that's how. But again, this is a fun environment because he can just stall and it's funny. It's just funny because we're in a safe environment. There was no other traffic around. It just didn't matter. And I said, what do you need to do then for us to get away and not get nicked? And he said, I think yeah. And so we had the conversation and he just worked it out. But it comes from being able to explore and experiment. Somebody telling you do more gas doesn't necessarily work. And he said, I suppose I just don't like, this is what he said afterwards, I don't like that feeling of, like I hear a lot of other learners do. So that was actually his issue. It wasn't that he was worried about it. He didn't like the too much biting point for a long time. So the deal was he was just going to do more just before he left. Do you see what I mean? When he saw his opportunity coming, then he was going to do it. Problem solved. But it was all solved by him doing it. I've done the same. Someone who kept stalling. That was early on in my coaching. She kept stalling and I kept trying to explain it. We did all sorts of different things. And I said, can we just go over there, please? Side of the road. Can you just try to stall? Literally turn it. Please try to stall. So she went over, moved away really smoothly, and she said, I don't actually need to now. I know what I've been doing. So do you see what I mean? You can literally turn it around, fake it, do the complete opposite. And she said, no, I've got it now. There are really fun things you can do as well with future focus or imagining a scenario, because we were talking, I think, before you started recording about what happens after the test. How do you get someone to think about their driving after the test? And you can do it. You can have a future focus. What will it be like when you drive to work? Where is work? You can practice driving there. Why don't we go there now? What will it be like with your mates in the car? Do you want me to pretend to be your mates? You know, shouting, hollering, saying, you know, look at this phone. How are you going to deal with that stuff? And what will it be like? There's also, oh, I like this one. For somebody who's, you know, those drivers that sit bolt upright really close to the wheel?
Yep.
And then they're like this and they can't really move much. If you were to guess at the character or the state of mind, what would you say about that particular driver who's close and bolt upright?
Tense, a little bit anxious, and they're going to struggle to react to a lot of things as well.
Absolutely. So that person, can you just tell them to relax?
No.
You can say, sit back a bit, you can tell them, and then 3 minutes later, it's there again. The next busy junction is there again. Fake it. Ask them to pull over and then say, think of a driver that you would really like to be. Or think of my favorite one is just think of the really horrible, cocky person. You know, that really arrogant driver. How do they sit? Where do they sit? What's the seating position? And then literally fake the seat. If they will, again, it has to be by agreement, tilt the seat back a little bit. Ask them how they feel about safely, with you being aware of it, holding the steering wheel with one hand, a little bit further back. Yeah, maybe hand on the gear lever. Do you see what I mean? It needs to be a quiet area where you both know what's going on and it has to be agreed. But then just get them to say, so what does this feel like? Sitting further back and having one hand on there. And if they do it for long enough, they kind of get into it. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like the physical being represents the emotional state. So you can actually swap it around on purpose. So you can actually create the physical state, then changes how the emotional reaction is. There's a really good TED talk. If you could put the link in.
Yes.
For anyone who wants this. Brilliant TED talk. The first 5 minutes, you might be thinking, what is that woman talking about? This is crazy. Not very interesting. Amy Cuddy, AMYCUDDY, Amy Cuddy TED talk. There are millions of views on it by now, I should think. I've recommended it to I don't know how many people. And it's all about using your body to recreate the emotions that you want, because your body doesn't know. But it's the same principle as, you know, some animals, they just do this posturing thing. They don't actually have a fight.
Yep.
Silverback gorillas, they'll often just thump themselves and stand in this position, and the one that backs down, or all right, mate, you're older than me, I think I'll back off. Some animals fight. Some animals just have this bravado and this thing. What does a cat do when you scare a cat? They go big.
Puff up. Yeah.
So the same thing happens with humans. What happens when people get nervous? They sit hunched, they curl up, and the body reacts, and it releases the same hormones. So when I was taking my students for tests, very often they would never sit down in the waiting room. They'd be standing there, like hands on their hips, a bit like Superwoman, Wonder Woman, whatever it was, hands on hips, having that presence, having that state. And I haven't got out of the habit. There's one of us sitting down and there's one of us standing up. I find it really helps. So my preference is, when I'm delivering and I want it to be the best version of me, is if I stand up, I just own it. So it's a brilliant little TED talk. I think it's 20 minutes. I don't think it's as much as half an hour. Most of the TED talks are 20 minutes, half an hour. And she gives you the science behind it. And it's literally, you stand big, and it's not about being someone else. It's about being the best version of you. So it's all about hormones. So you need to get rid of the stress hormones and replace them with the sort of more relaxed ones. But it's about being the best version of you. So absolutely brilliant little TED talk, that one.
We will get that put in the description for anyone that wants it. Head to the description. We'll have it in there when this goes live. And I think that is hugely important with what we're doing. It's one thing teaching someone how to mechanically operate the car, another thing how to interpret what's going on the road ahead, but then their own feelings and thoughts on the road and how they manage them. Because if the pressure of a test is difficult, then when they're in heated situations on the road, or something goes wrong, or there's a situation, I think we need to be aware of our emotions and how it impacts our decisions. It is fascinating, and it takes a lot, I think, to understand it. I'm trying to learn about it now. There's so much information out there. There's so much going on in the brain. There's so many chemicals bouncing around. Did you find that just keeping those lessons fun was a way to manage the stress levels in the lessons? And then because the students are kind of bought into that, they can carry it forward into the test and potentially then be more confident through it.
I think because if you nurture the environment, and if someone's free to tell you how they're feeling without you going, pull yourself together, if you don't have that kind of reaction, if you're free to say, actually, this is making me really anxious, if you fix the feeling, the fault will take care of itself. Somebody said that to me a long time ago. If you fix the feeling, the fault will take care of itself. And I think for the most part, that's absolutely true. The thing is their driving test the first thing they've ever been anxious about? And sometimes it is for some people. I've had this conversation, and I say, how do you feel about your exams? Because very often they're going through GCSEs and all the rest of it. And they say, well, that's easy. I can study that. I know what I'm doing. And I say, well, what are you doing here? And they go, well, yeah, that's studying, and they're very conscious of it. And then, but it's like anything. The only person who can really sort it out is them. But we can have those conversations. And you can say, is there anything that makes you a little bit nervous? What have you done about it? What can you come up with in this scenario? And you don't have to come up with the answer now. If you think of it, tell me next week. Take the pressure off. It's not something we need to fix there and then. but very often, you know, if someone's doing here, I've got another example. I had young man, 17-year-old. His name was Alex. I liked Alex, but he was quick. He was a quick driver. He had his jeans hanging off, hat on backwards, a little bit ooh, a little bit yay, you know, a proper lad, proper lad. He was in the car and he was going round fairly small, not mini roundabouts, but fairly small ones with 5 exits, which is quite unusual for a small roundabout. Agreed? You know, you
Yep.
don't get that many. 5 exits, and he was going around fast in second, sometimes trying it in third. Now, this was in the very early stages of me coaching, and the repetition of slow down in second, slow down, brake, more brake, brake. None of that was working. No repetition was working. After a while, I thought, you know what? I had to be honest. And this is a mistake people make. Coaching does not mean you have to be fluffy and kind. Coaching means that you have the right to be downright honest. I'm politely honest, but I got him to pull over and I said, Alex, I've got to be honest. I'm feeling really quite anxious when you're driving. And he looked at me and the shock on his face was really, I was surprised. He says, what? I said, yeah, you know, we're going really quick around these roundabouts and I don't feel safe. It's not about you and your skills, but if someone else messes up, I don't know what we're going to do about it. And he said, oh, yeah. Oh. And he was really uncomfortable, couldn't say anything. And I said, can we go and have a look at that same roundabout, the one you just did? So we went, and it was far enough back, but it was almost annoying to be there that close to that roundabout. But I really felt like I couldn't do it without, you know, seeing that particular roundabout or the one that he kept doing, because it was quite close to his house. Of course, do you see what I mean? He knew it really well. And I said, tell me about the other drivers. That one, that one, that one. What are your thoughts? Just that one, this one. And then I said, which ones do you like? Which ones do you not like? What do you think? What do you, you know, just tell me what you've noticed. He didn't like the quick ones. And I thought, that doesn't mean anything because he obviously doesn't feel like he's quick. And then I said, oh, it's so long ago. So long ago. But I think the biggest thing for him was once he realized that I was that uncomfortable. And no, that's it. That's where I was going. And then I did ask him, what makes you want to be going a bit quicker than some of these other people? Because I said, you know, try and place yourself in there. You're probably up there with the quicker ones that you're not really comfortable looking at. And he said, yeah, well, they're all crossed behind a learner, aren't they? So I've got to go quick because I want to show them that I'm coming up for my test. I'm not a learner. So exactly the same motive behind his need for speed was the timid learner. Do you see what I mean? It was just his bravado was protecting him from that. So I couldn't detect it because I wasn't in his head. But basically, he didn't want people to think he was a numpty learner going too slowly. So he was sort of, you know, and he didn't want them. But he was, and it came across in other aspects as well, you know, where if you just looked at who he seemed to be, he was a really confident driver going quickly, but ultimately he was nervous about other people behind him wanting him to go. That's what he said. They all want me to go faster because I'm a learner.
It's amazing the information you get when you ask those questions, because we could assume is a lad, just wants to go quick, or just joining in with the traffic. And I've had similar. She was probably a middle-aged lady, just not slowing down for roundabouts, and we'd stop, and she knew what she needed to do, just wasn't doing it. And conversation, and we eventually got to it. And I've mentioned it previously in an episode. She was scared of being on the roundabout.
Oh,
So her only goal was to get on and get off as quick as possible. That's it. So speed was gone, positioning was gone, observations were gone. It was just on and off. Let's go. And we'd talk, and she was like, I know I need to slow down. I know I need to do this. I know I need to do that. I'm like, well, should we go and practice it? You've told me what you need to do. Let's go and practice. And we'd do it on a quiet roundabout, absolutely fine. As soon as there was cars around, took a few goes, took me trial and error trying to figure out what's going on. And then we got to it. And her only objective when there was other cars around was get on and off as quick as possible. So
right.
we discussed that and figured out the risks with it and how's her position and what happens if someone's turning right, if we're going straight, and so on. And yeah, it came from the questions. I could have just kept saying break more, and she'd have been
Yeah,
great at doing the roundabouts with me prompting. But I knew she had the skill to do it on her own. It was the emotion that she wasn't able to deal with
yeah.
on the busier ones.
Because you can ask ridiculous questions, and if you ask it quickly enough, they haven't got time to think and they answer it. For example, what do you think? If you were me, what would you tell you to do? And if they're, and they just answer it. And then some of them catch you out and they say, well, that's what you've got to tell me, isn't it? And then they won't answer it. And I say, yeah, but if you did know, what would the answer be? And you can often trick them into giving you the answer that they know, but that very often it's all hidden in them. If you fix the feeling, the thought will take care of itself. So finding out what the motivation is, I would love to have known, yeah, what is going to happen on the roundabout. I'd love to know with your lady, what's the worst case scenario then on it?
So I can't remember a huge amount about it. Apart from, I'm pretty sure we just went as slow as we could. It's just, let's just go slow. Let's see what happens.
Yeah,
And we got there eventually. And I think she was an anxious person in general. Um, so it took a lot, but I think it's that rapport that we need to build. You see a lot of people saying that doesn't work with my students. We can't do that with my students. And I found I start that as early as possible. Lesson one, what do you want to do today? What are you hoping to get out of this? And allowing them just to open up. It's like, okay, let's go and do that. You're in charge of the learning. Because if we start off by telling everyone, right, this is what we're going to do, and then you're an hour, 2 hours down, and then the next lesson we're going to do this. And then lesson four, you're like, right, what do you want to do now? You've already set the structure for the lesson. You tell them. So you've not got that same relationship that if we
yeah,
start it from the very beginning, this is the norm, this is how we learn driving, it comes from you. It can be quite difficult to then change it for that student. And if you're doing it for all your students,
yeah.
in
I
my limited experience in this industry, I'm
I,
finding
I don't
hard.
don't because sometimes people are just naturals, and it doesn't matter how long you've been doing it. It really doesn't. It doesn't. The length of time you've been doing anything, whether you're an ADI or a PDI, brilliant people are brilliant people at doing things. It doesn't matter. Stop comparing ourselves to other people, because otherwise I've got to be, in theory, better than other people because I've been doing the job a little while. I still feel like I'm learning. I still feel like I'm learning. And I've just got my information, but I haven't got yours. And I haven't got that PDI over there's information. I haven't got that one over there. Everybody knows lots of stuff. Our learners, our new drivers, they may be 17, but they know a lot of stuff.
I learn a lot from them that helps me teach.
Yeah.
because I'll try and get information. What do you think? Like, you've got the games, you've mentioned a few games. There are times when I'm out of ideas. I'm like, what can we do now to help you?
Yeah.
And just give them a minute to come up with an idea. And some of them have been great. I'm like, let's go and do that. As long as it's safe and controlled, absolutely, we can do it.
Absolutely. Following on from that you said, there are some people that are just they find it hard to say what they want to do. And I get that. I honestly, like I said, I didn't go to any meetings when I was a driving instructor because I didn't have the right to be there. I didn't know as much as all the other driving instructors. I wasn't as good as whatever it was. When a new driver gets in, they're not used to having that kind of equal relationship in a learning environment.
Yep.
We are called driving instructors. The name suggests we instruct, we tell.
Yep.
And it's really difficult to break that. So if you've got someone who's very quiet and is just terrified of saying the wrong thing, and you're going, no, if you've got somebody who's like that, give them 3 options. Don't draw it out of people who find it really difficult. Notice the discomfort in your poor person and then say, do you want to do this, this, or this? Because just having a choice of one of the 3, they're still making a choice. And you're using your skills, knowing this is good, and this is good. But that person's now making a choice. And you know that any one of those things, and it's really simple. You've taken the pressure off, but they are still making a decision.
It's still theirs.
And they have ownership, and it's that tiny thing. Sometimes you really need to draw people out. But I might do things differently to some other people. Everyone's brilliant. I'm not saying I'm better, but when I knock on the door, I do tend to say to people, which seat do you want to sit in? I knock on the door, first lesson, which side of the car would you like to sit? Ooh, driver's side, please. Excellent. There you go. Which side of the door you want to sit? Yeah, passenger seat, passenger seat, passenger seat. Well, I don't know anything about driving. But it's that initial, which side of the car do you want to sit? And you get so much information from the first question, confident person, not quite so confident person. And you've got, but you don't have to let them drive straight away. I'm not saying, don't be unsafe. I'm saying you can nurture it from the knock on the door, as in decision making. And it really is. But what have you done? Is you knock on the door and you ask that person which seat they want to sit in. What have you done for the relationship? Is it instructor role or is it a bit more equal?
Equal.
That's what we need to do. We do have the skills but if they were experts in archery and we went for the archery lesson, they wouldn't patronize us, would they?
That's it. And you said something there that was this week I had a lesson with a student. She was, it must have been 4 or 5 days after her 17th birthday. So I get to the house, park up, block the dad on his driveway. And I'm just about to send a message to Samir because I use an app, so I don't like knocking on people's doors. I don't know who's asleep and who's awake. And it was 8 o'clock in the morning. It was early for some of my students. But they come out. So I'm there having a chat. She's just turned 17. I've assumed she's never even sat in the driver's seat before. But I said, okay, which seat are you getting in? She's like, I go in the driver's seat. I'm like, okay, have you driven? She's like, oh yeah, we've been driving around the car park. I'm like, okay, have you driven on the road? No, just the car park. And you want to drive off from here? Yes, please. Okay. Now I've got to think really fast because the plan I had in my head for that lesson, gone,
Yes.
completely gone. And I'm
Yeah.
now sat in the passenger seat with someone who's 17 and 4 days. I don't know how much driving experience they've got. I don't know how she's going to get on. So it was a 5-10 minute conversation. It was a quiet housing estate. We agreed that I'd let her do what she needed to do. I'd be responsible for observations and keeping us safe ultimately, but she could just drive. And she was like, yep, that's fine. I'm like, oh, okay, off we go. And by the end of that lesson, up and down through the gears independently, independent on mirror checks. When she set off, obviously she'd not been doing them, but by the end of the lesson, gear changing, mirror checks, and that was not the plan that I'd had. And I'm like, I've got to figure this out real quick and give her some value because we need to make sure that she's progressing. So that question that you said there, I think it could have completely changed the lesson if I'd have assumed she's not driven and taken her to a car park that she's already done for the last 4 days.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't mean you need to let them drive straight away. So the ones that have sat in my driver's seat, I do say something like, okay, I need to be professional about this. Convince me that that's the right seat for you to be right now. I don't mean it in an aggressive way. Most people have worked me out by the time I get in the car anyway. But very often. Oh, in the old days, I don't know if I should admit this. On video for thousands of people to see, potentially.
One day.
I have explained the clutch to a mechanic.
You explain the clutch to a mechanic. Okay.
Controls lesson. When I was taught to teach people to drive, 40 minutes. This is how you open the door. This is how you close the door. This is how you make sure the door is closed. This is how you put your seatbelt on. Oh, no. You can't get it like that and pull it down. No, you have to reach over with your other arm and reach around and then pull it down. Now we're going to show you how the windscreen wipers work. It's summer. But this is what, I don't know why, but it was those old PSTs before your time, and it kind of stuck. And these are the things, and I just think I was doing that for so long because I thought that was how it had to be. So,
Do you think that's why people still come to us almost expecting that level? Because the stories they've heard from the parents are, oh, you do this, you do that, you spend 2 hours sat in a car park, then you'll learn how to drive once you've passed your driving test.
Oh, yeah. Oh, isn't that a dreadful thing?
Yes.
The statistics are horrible because of this kind of thing. But it's the same thing. We're not helping people address their own feelings. And this is something that I'm passionate about. You have to get that person to understand their feelings and what's going to be a pressure for them, and to plant or sow the seeds of how to deal with those stresses. When I deliver speed awareness courses, there's a whole section that covers things about stress and pressure. What do stress drivers do? Potentially.
Get it over very quickly and drive very fast.
Stress drivers make mistakes. Stress learners do weird things on their driving tests. We are not providing a full service if we don't help that person learn to address the stresses and the pressures that they will face on a daily basis. I'll look after that tailgater. You don't worry about them. Doesn't help someone. It makes them feel doubly uncomfortable because now they can't say anything to you about the stress or pressure they're feeling from that person. It doesn't help. We do need to. And this is why there are all sorts of people dealing with other kinds of courses that are out there And I think it's a shame because CPD shouldn't have to cost a lot of money. But it does. But it does because it takes people a long time to develop skills in order to share skills. And everybody needs to make a bit of money. It's we're professionals and we need to, and it's really difficult and it's really hard to get into the industry. It's really hard to find your own niche market. It's quite competitive. It is really difficult.
So how would we learn more around this? Because the emotional side of it, the the way the brain's working, there's so many different areas that this can be taken, and I'm fascinated by all of it. I don't know how I'm going to afford all the CPD. I'll just keep doing podcasts instead. Um, but if there are people watching that have kind of this has got them thinking about maybe doing something to help their learners to manage the emotional side of it, what advice would you give to those people?
Well, it depends. I think, managing the emotions, first of all, you need to ask the person what they do in other circumstances, see what they already know. Some people are into their meditation and their exercise. Some people use exercise to manage what's going on. But there are brilliant. Have you had Kevin Tracy Field on yet?
Yes.
So if somebody, I mean, ADIs and PDIs can join up with Kevin Tracy Field, confident drivers, but the individuals can sign up with Kevin Tracy as well, confident drivers. So you've got double-edged, but I think that's a wonderful thing. Go and see Kevin Tracy Field, explore emotional reactions, start to think about how you feel yourself. And I think this is the thing, because somebody telling you to calm down is nothing more infuriating. Nothing more infuriating.
It gets me in trouble at home quite a lot, that.
Yeah. Do you ever say this? Do you ever say this to anyone in your family? What's the matter now?
Mine's normally calm down, stop stressing, it'll be all right. Stop stressing, we've got this, that. I'm gonna go out. I've got work.
Yeah. I apologize. I apologize. But but this is where I think managing your own emotions. I think this is where I use scaling. Now, I don't mean just out of 10. It's very hard to talk about things. I'm not a fan of promoting myself and the courses I run, but the scaling, if you know someone who knows scaling deeply, you need to find out how to get the most out of it. Scaling out of 10 or whatever you want to scale. But scaling's a massive thing, and you can do all of those emotional things, all of them. And you can even, you have a lovely thing at the end of a session. If you're good at scaling and you know exactly how to use the tool, and you say to somebody, yeah, but how much effort out of 10 do you put into your sessions? When they've had a horrible lesson and it's just they've had loads of things going a bit wrong, or they're struggling, and it's just been endless, and it feels like it snowballs, and you can see the body language going down. They're getting more and more despondent. And if you just say, yeah, but how much effort do you put in to your sessions? Have the tissues ready, because they'll often burst into tears. But that's a massive thing. And what you've done by asking them how much effort they put in, what you've just done is you've let them know that you recognize they put effort in all the time. And it's really powerful, that. But like I say, have the tissues handy. Have the tissues handy, because sometimes, but when you recognize somebody's effort, can be really powerful, and they can really see the improvements. But like I said earlier, if you fix the feeling, the thought will take care of itself. What do you think could be somebody's feeling, when someone, just simple thing, we all know this, someone's coming up for a major to minor right turn. They've done all the stuff. And then they suddenly cut the corner. What feeling questions can you ask that would help them look at what they were going through on approach? Because it's probably not the you needed to turn at this point. I hate reference points, by the way, just saying. Sorry to offend anybody. I know lots of people use them. It's just not something that, being 5'2", my reference point in a car is very different to someone who's 6'2", So reference points don't work, in my opinion. But if you think about that right turn corner cut, what sort of things can be going on to trigger an individual's feelings for that?
I found there have been so many different things that have caused that exact situation.
Okay.
I had one today. She's a fairly confident driver. I had no idea why she done it until she told me the magpie. She didn't want to hit the magpie. So she was watching a bird while she was turning.
Right. There you go. Yeah, I haven't heard the magpie one before. Yeah.
And I'm like, I never would have guessed. I'd not seen it. So I wasn't even expecting it.
Exactly. So, and that's fixing the feeling. And then you can say, alternatively, what could you do when you see the next magpie doing the same thing, or any other animal you want to protect? Options. And then it's going through the options. What are your options with stress and pressure for your driving test? You can go to Kevin Tracy Field, but if you've got your own solution, what would it be? I recommend standing up in the waiting room of the test centre. Having watched, both of you, having watched the Amy Cuddy TED Talk, it's really powerful. When people go for fights, do they sit down? Before the fight, do they sit down, apart from but they've done their workout stuff, but when they're showing each other, when you come to the middle of the ring?
It's the posturing, isn't it?
I wonder why.
Maybe I'll take my wheelie chair. I'll just have a sit down. But yeah, there's a lot in what we've covered, and a lot of it, I think, when you raise your awareness to it, it becomes more and more obvious, but it's naturally so subconscious as well that if we're not aware, like you've mentioned the body language, and we've not done a huge amount on that, but that's massively important and massively telling to our student and the situations that we're finding ourselves in. But the standing up in the test center, I'm going to steal that one. I will give you credit when my student comes back and passes. So watch this episode. This is where I got it from. Yeah, it's tricking that brain, isn't it?
Before you do it, do watch the Amy Cuddy, but then also look at the other people in the waiting room. What's the average posture in the waiting room?
Sat on our phone, worried.
Hunched over, looking down. It's a submissive body posture. It creates a submissive state of mind, rather than the best version of me. It's not bravado, being anything that you're not. It's just the best present conscious version of you, where the hormone levels are correct. Because it's very difficult when you actually address how someone, this didn't work with you the other day when we spoke about it totally backfired on me. We were talking about how does a person know, what are the sensations, that's right, of nervousness. And most people, it's sweaty hands and, bit short of breath and tummy turning over, or butterflies, or those kind of things. But then with most people, if you ask the same question, How do you feel when you're excited about something? It's sweaty hands, butterflies, stomach's turning over a bit, need the loo. It's all the same thing. So the sensations. So in actual fact, the only way that a person can detect their emotional state is by thinking about what's about to happen. It's the sensations draw the brain's attention to, I'm feeling something. Do you see what I mean? And it's the brain's interpretations of those sensations which gives a person the ability to say, I'm nervous, I'm scared, I'm anxious, I'm excited. I'm going to nail this. Same sensations, interpretation of the brain. Yeah. And where can people go for that stuff? I think that's something you need to be aware of, but you can only ask that person. Which would
Every
be
person is, that's what I found. Everyone's an individual. I'm finding that I've got a number of tools now that I can use, and I expect that that list of tools is going to just keep getting bigger and bigger. And I need more and more for all the different people and personalities and traits that I'm seeing. And I think that's where the coaching side of this job and the client-centered can really make you enjoy it, because it keeps us on our feet, on our toes, it keeps us challenged. Whereas if it's just, this is lesson one, and if you don't get it, we'll repeat lesson one until you do get it, then we'll move on. There's not a challenge from my point of view there to get the best out of the student as quick and as efficiently as I can.
no, it doesn't. It helps people pass the test, but it doesn't help them learn to drive.
Yep.
We should not be okay with hearing the phrase, well, you teach yourself to drive after you pass. We should be doing that. We should be doing that. We should be doing that with our learners. What will it be like when you're with your kids in the car? Well, I don't know. We're not allowed to get them in the car, aren't you? This is a personal preference, but there's no law against having a child restrained in their proper car seat. And you making a plan. If they yell, what will you do? Do you see what I mean? So these are all the things that you can do. This is playing a game. The game is you put the child in the car seat in the car. I'm having nothing to do with it in case I do.
Yeah.
Because, that has to be secure in there.
That's what I say to mine. I've never had anyone take me up on it, but I have offered it to every parent that I've had learning. I need to sort childcare. If you ever want to bring your child, as long as you put the seat in and put the child in the seat, I obviously explain I've got kids and I can help occupy
Mates,
if needed.
yeah,
But
mates,
it's,
boyfriends, and dads because of the pressure.
what was that?
Oh,
Sorry.
mates, boyfriends, and dads all in the car, not all at once, usually. But the dad was entertaining because he was getting loads of stuff wrong. He was trying to tell me what's the speed limit on a dual carriageway, and my learner shouted 70. Oh, no, Dad, it is 70. I enjoyed that one.
I had a dad in, and she was young girl, and that was the worst she'd driven when her
Yeah,
dad was in the car. And it was probably a good job that she drove like that with me in the passenger seat rather than her dad in the passenger seat without dual controls.
yeah. Um, it's not something I do without having a conversation first.
Hmm.
These are all things that you try and get people to predict, and I'm honest with people. And I have no idea how this is going to go. Worst case scenario, best case scenario. But it's that it's interesting. It's just interesting when you get imaginative with driver training. And if you just relax from what you think you should do and what you think you shouldn't do, and just it's you and another adult in a car, you agree the risk, you agree the safety, and then, you know, just let it be. I have no proof of this because it's only my personal experience. People learnt so much quicker when I let them teach themselves. Ian Edwards wrote a book on it, actually. I don't know if it's still in print. Can drivers really teach themselves? It's a very small book, my kind of book, really small. And he just wrote it out. And yes, they can. Yes, they can. We have to be there because of the safety aspect. And the skills, that's nothing. Really, if you think about it, the skills are nothing. It's this and the emotional reaction to that cause the problems for everybody, whether it be on test or afterwards. Sticking to the speed limit. How will you feel when you're driving to the hospital when your child has fallen off the swing and there's blood everywhere? Have you done that one yet?
I have, but that brought back memories of when I was a child and I nearly, this time it was nearly cut the end of my finger off. And my mum wouldn't let me in the house because there was blood everywhere. And when you said that, it just brought back that memory of, you're not coming in here, get a towel, let's get in the car, we're going to hospital.
Wouldn't even let you in the house. Don't you bleed on my carpet?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, and then straight in the car. And then my mum had to get me to hospital and she was nearly passing out because there was blood everywhere. Ah, that was a few years ago. But yeah, it's
your face
those
changed
things.
then, Josh. Your face literally changed when I said that.
It just made me chuckle. It brought back that of dart into the hospital, blood everywhere. Yeah.
And what do you think the drive was like for your mum?
Oh, terrible. She probably don't remember it.
Do you remember the drive?
Ish. I more remember just thinking this is hurting.
Bad. This is
Yeah.
hurting. This is really bad.
Yeah. But those things are, I think, worth the conversation. I try and have that, especially with the younger ones. How are you going to get on with your friends? As I wouldn't say most, a lot of my students have a playlist that they'll put on when they get in the car. So they connect the phone, they have the music on. Most of them, it relaxes them. So it's nice to hear that there is the freedom to move away from just a script and find a way that works for that student at that moment in time for whatever it is they're struggling with, and don't assume that we know. That's the biggest lesson I've learned recently. Don't assume that you know the problem.
No. We need we need the skills to do that. We need the skill to be able to. But let's just know that we can solve it. But it's so much better for them if they can solve it themselves. We just have to trust. And like I said, please don't doubt yourself if you're a PDI. Trust yourself. Just take a step back and have a listen. You know the answer. You probably know the answer. And if you don't know the answer yet, you'll probably work it out in the next 5 minutes. But just give yourself a chance to take a listen and do the listening, proper listening. Listening is a skill in and of itself, I think. You're good at it.
I do try.
I had to hang something on the dashboard. I had it was a little bit of green, it's just a bit of green cloth, and I used to put it on the dashboard hanging down at an angle. So it drove me nuts because it wasn't all lined up, it wasn't proper. So I'd notice it and I'd keep noticing, oh yeah, listen. Oh yeah, listen. Shut up, Fiona, listen. Because it was there, hanging there. And I told everybody why it was there. Some of them even said, oh, good. That's there so I listen to you and not talk so much. Again, all of us want to help. It is the prime directive of a driving instructor. We love helping. We've got all the answers and we just want to help and make it easy. But sometimes you have to not help. You need to know all the answers, but help them find out what those answers are. And it's hard.
It takes practice.
It does.
But on that, I have some questions for you. Look at that for a link. How have we managed that?
It was nice. I'll even listen to them.
Ah, there we go. So I've added a new part to the show.
Right.
Some questions. I say new. We've been doing it a little bit of time now. But are you happy to go through some of these with me?
Absolutely.
So the first one, can you tell me what car you would drive if it was the only car you could drive forever?
Am I allowed to make one up? It's a cross
Yes.
between a Volvo estate and my little Fiesta that I own now. But the old-fashioned big Volvo estate, you can put a lot of stuff in a Volvo estate.
Yes.
But I want my Fiesta with my heated windscreen, my B&O stereo, and my subwoofer.
So we're going to budge two cars together and have the
That's
best
it.
of both worlds.
Yeah, yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, yeah. Black one, still black one.
I don't think we're going to have the same answer as that ever again.
Probably not. I think I just love the way the Fiesta drives, to be honest. I like a car that, and it's just a dream of a Fiesta, and I don't make one anymore. So
No, I'm going to hold on to mine until it dies. Great car, though.
absolutely. Have you got the B&O and the sub?
No, no, I don't do music.
All right.
It's,
No, I'm the child here, obviously.
I've never, it's an odd one. Maybe I'm the odd one. I don't know. But yeah, never really done music. I listen to a lot of podcasts or silence. I like listening to my own thoughts while I'm on a long drive. Come up with a new crazy idea that I'm going to get addicted to for the next couple of years.
Yeah, like podcasts.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, not listening, doing. Absolutely. No, I've loved music. Loved music forever. I think it's for a lot of people it's part of
Mm.
being. Part of being. So yeah, yeah. It's my weird Fiestvo. A Volvesta? Oh no, that sounds bad. Anyway,
We'll leave that to the viewers. Leave us some names in the comments.
in the threads. Yeah. Excellent.
So the next one, can you tell me if you could deliver a driving lesson to anyone, who would it be?
Every lane hogger.
Interesting.
Well, you didn't expect a regular answer from me, did you?
No, but I am very much in line with your answer.
In
I
your,
have,
yeah,
say again, so yeah.
I was just going to ask, in your opinion, what's going on in here in most lane hoggers? Or is it in here?
Ah, interesting. I think they don't want to come off the motorway by accident. So if you stay in the middle, it's not going to happen. But again, I wouldn't know. I've never been, even from, I couldn't go on the motorway when I was learning. So I passed my test, and I think about 2 days later, done a road trip up the M6, I think it was. But lane hoggers have always just, I don't understand why. Can you enlighten me?
They're invited on courses now, so you can go past them smug. You're going to go and see Fiona. Yeah, they're invited on courses because it does drive people nuts and it encourages the undertaking, which people
Yeah.
also come on the same course for. So it's a what's driving us course or potentially a motorways course. It depends. Depends on the anyway. Have a think about this. Why do people not like being in lane 1 when there's a slip road approaching, coming on.
Because there's a slip road coming on.
And what's going to happen?
They're going to have to meet a car that wants to join or change lanes to let the car on.
So where's the
Ah,
safest place to be, in your opinion?
the safest place.
For them, in their opinion,
Oh, out the way.
out the way in lane 2. I feel
Oh,
safer out there. So they're going a steadier pace because they're intimidated by the speeds on the motorway. They don't like the cars coming down the slip road. So if they stay in lane 2, they don't have to worry. Have a look at them when you go past. Take a look at their feeling state. Just a thought. So lane hoggers, most of the time they're actually quite anxious. I don't know if that's putting feelings into their head, but something like that.
I'll join you on that one if we manage to get round to delivering a lesson to every lane hogger. I'll offer support for that one.
Thank you, because I think I might be busy.
Just a little bit. So the next question then, can you tell me the best advice you ever received?
Oh, just sort of my stupid one when people say, have you got any tips? I'll give you that one first. So when
Yeah.
people say, have you got any good tips? Always clean a toilet with your mouth closed. There you go. That's my top tip. Best advice. The one that springs to mind at the moment is fix the feeling, and the thought will take care of itself. I think there's such power in that.
hmm
I think it has to be that. Can't think of anything else at the moment. Fix the feeling.
Nice. The theme of today's episode, really, as well, by the end of it, I think.
I think so. Yeah. Well, games, feelings, how you're feeling, providing that environment it's just learning takes place if someone's enjoying themselves.
Yep.
If most people think back to school, which were the sessions that you got the most out of? And it wasn't the one who scared you, it was the one you enjoyed.
I love it. The next one, I'm looking forward to this question. Can you tell me your favorite book?
Just one?
You can have a couple of bonus books if you want. It's just to add to my reading list, basically, so that I'm stuck
Okay,
forever on Audible.
not the non-fiction ones. I mean, not the fiction ones.
Any,
Um,
you can choose whatever you want, any
there are
topic.
there are loads of them. There's my ultimate favorite one, How Emotions Are Made. Lisa Feldman Barrett, that is. It's too heavy for most people, but that was a really good one. But one I've already said is Ian Edwards. Can drivers really train themselves? Teach themselves? Can drivers really teach themselves? There's half of books like The Chimp Paradox, basically because it's about the emotions and how strong they are compared to the human brain. It's that battle that we have between brain overpowering something. Emotions are so powerful because your body's experiencing and doing it, and it's so hard to get this back in control. So sort of half of that book, when it starts talking about it, starts getting a bit woo at the end, and there's so many things I can't remember. So, but the first half of it, absolutely brilliant. There's all the coaching ones, but they're quite difficult to get through. But it's anything to do with people, feelings, emotions, that sort of thing. I think they're really powerful things to understand the deeper picture of how we work as humans.
Yep.
Driving's got nothing to do with skills. If you break the skills down, people could learn to drive in the 10 hours, in under 10 hours, especially auto. Push this, push that, right, off you go, bye.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good. So we've got a few books there. Anyone listening, we'll leave the books in the description so you don't need to write them down.
Yeah.
But good answer. So The next question, can you tell me one message you would give to someone who's considering or is in the early stages of coming into the industry?
Find a trainer. Find a trainer you like. Find a trainer that's going to help you your way and understands the bigger picture. Find
Nice.
a trainer that you like. Trust them. You
I like
have
that one.
to.
Massively important, I think. A lot of people, I think, well, know why I started the podcast was just to share stories about training and the journey coming in and how some people don't really have a good time of it. And I think massively important is finding that trainer that you want to work with because it's going to put you in the best possible position when you do qualify.
And there's obviously the contract thing.
Yeah, read the contract.
Yeah, or avoid one.
Yes.
I've never had to sign a contract. I was lucky. I got looked after by my he wasn't my trainer, but I went on the pink with a certain local school. He was so good to me. I wanted 2 hours a week. So he didn't do any training with me. I just wanted to go on the pink with his driving school. And he said, yeah, I trust you. No contract. I didn't have to pay anything to start with. Anyway, I'll be saying his name in a minute, and I don't know. I haven't checked it. That would be all right. But it's trust. And if you haven't got a contract and you don't like the training, you've got the chance to leave. Don't sign away loads of money. I think that's uncomfortable to say because there are loads of good trainers out there that want the money up front.
It's difficult, isn't it? So find a good trainer and at least read the contracts. And if we can avoid one, do.
Yeah, yeah, if you can.
Great message. We may have covered the next one already, but can you tell me one piece of advice you would give a student before they go for their driving test?
Yeah, Amy Cuddy TED Talk. Amy Cuddy TED Talk. If you can get your students to watch it, you need to know it. I have given that link to I don't know how many PDIs, ADIs, people coming up for their standards checks, people coming up for their L test. I have given that link to hundreds and hundreds of people, I think, by now, because I've done it in courses as well. I just think it's one of those underrated. It is a little bit tedious to start with, but once you get past that and you realize she's actually talking about physics and physics as in physicality. No, it's brilliant. So yeah, Amy Cuddy TED Talk.
We will get that in the description. And the last question then, can you tell me one thing that you wish you were better at?
Eating healthily. Nothing to do with drugs.
Okay.
I mean, most of the time, anything that I do, deliver wise, training, anything, the jokes are always about cake. It's a little bit of an addiction. I do love my vegetables, but I can't stop the cake. Yeah, no, eating more healthily, having that, yeah, just having more. Not wanting cake would be lovely.
I do have a bit of a sweet tooth. Not ideal for the next 2 days,
It is,
but
it is not. The thing is, I mean, I can do my intermittent fasting. It's not that
okay.
I can fast, but then when I break the fast, I'm like, oh, cake. So yeah, I know what to do, but I think that and as you know, there is so much more underneath that than what appears on the surface. Fix the feeling, and the cake will take care of itself. So I need to listen to myself there, I think.
We've got to let ourselves have some wins, haven't we?
Absolutely. absolutely. Cherry pie tonight's not actually cake.
Oh,
It's
very nice. I won't tell you what I had today, what I plan to have tomorrow, but I tell you what, Saturday night there will be cake.
a whole one. I
Yep, all of
recommend
it.
I recommend wedding cake. All the tears.
And then Sunday is a Chinese all you can eat.
You won't be able to chew.
No, no, I'm not expecting to be able to walk out if I'm honest.
No, you need to watch the Amy Cuddy TED Talk yourself.
I'm gonna. I can't remember where I've heard it before. I don't think it's on record, but I think that's been mentioned by a previous guest. And I don't know whether I did listen to it or I didn't, but I'm gonna go back and listen to it and then I'll know whether I did or I didn't. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it's worth doing it again. I think it's one of those things. If you didn't remember when I spoke about Superwoman, Wonder Woman, Superwoman,
yes.
then you may not have. No, it's brilliant. Well, I've enjoyed this. I think I've spoken a bit too much.
It's been fascinating. So much great information there. Um, Before we do disappear anywhere, though, do you have any final messages or where would you like to send people if they want to know more about you, what you do, what you offer? This is where you get to sell yourself, and it's fine.
All right. Well, I've changed. Number seven, question number seven, when I said healthy eating, selling myself is something I find really difficult. I do offer some courses on pdiadi.com. We do a regular, it's a £10 CPD, but stupid early in the morning. I've got a scaling course. I've got my new course, it's speed. I just calling it speed, I think. And that's the one I'm most passionate about at the moment. But it's how do we sow the seeds? So it's loads of the stuff we've been speaking about, but how do we actually sow the seeds of somebody looking after their own sense of speed and the pressures and stresses and everything later in their driving career? Because I think we need to start bottom up. You know, the psychologists and the people who design the endors courses, they're doing it top down, but why don't we start bottom up as well? And at some point they'll meet in the middle, and then hopefully we can have that safer. 5 people a day die on our roads, and that's horrible. That needs to change. So yeah, those sort of courses. So I think best place is Fiona Taylor Facebook. It's little Fiona ident with a little car, so it's the ident is round, it says Fiona and there's a little car on top of it. Might be a Fiesta, you never know. So it's a little tiny but Fiona Taylor Facebook, I think that's the best way. Friend me, follow me, whatever you need to do. I think that's the best place. My website is currently atrocious until I sort it out.
Okay,
So,
we'll get a link one way or another to your Facebook on the description, along with when your website is back to whatever. We can
well, I
update
mean,
the description as well.
you can buy the car and diagram sets there, so it's there, but it's not showcasing the rest of the stuff that I will be putting on there. It's just a bit rubbish at the moment.
So if people want to buy the what set, sorry?
Like car and diagram sets, all training
There
aids.
we go. Yep, your training aids as well. So physical training aids that people can get off
Toys,
your website.
games, making learning more fun. Yeah, yeah. That's FionaDrive.com.
Cool.
That's it.
We'll get a link to that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you very much for your time. I've really enjoyed this conversation. It's been fascinating. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you for inviting me. It's been wonderful, and I hope that we both together have inspired some people to have a bit more fun in the car. Be nice, wouldn't it?
It would. I'm looking forward to hearing how people have got on with some of the games or maybe creating their own.
That's even better. Love that.
Yes.
Good.
Thank you.
See ya.